Thanks very much, AV, and you have to give him a good introduction, so I won't waste too much time in the introduction because I've only 5 minutes. I've been told to keep it fairly quick, and I've a good bit to try and squeeze into 5 minutes. So, yeah, basically, I'm involved in Macron Pharma. I'm the chair of the Ag Affairs Committee for 2 years, but I'm also a dairy farmer, so I can see what's happening on the ground. I'm farming at home with my dad and with my partner Kate. So we've people would call maybe an intensive type dairy farm. We're in the southeast of Ireland water, which is a high risk zone for water quality, and also there's been issues around emissions and biodiversity loss. But I suppose we just want to show that we're trying to embrace on our farm. I suppose as a young farmer, I'm very conscious that we're going to be the future, and we have to be very involved in the decision making because it really affects us. So you can see there's a picture of my family there, my mum, my dad, and my sister, and then my girlfriend Kate there. So it's very much a family farm. Just even though people might think it over 200 cows on the farm, it's an industrial type farm. It's very much not. There's no such thing in Ireland as that. We're all very much family farms, and we're trying to do our best. We all see ourselves as custodians of the land, and I think that's important to get that point across. So I have a few examples of things we're doing on our farm. I'll go through the slides, but just to kind of discuss some of the successes I've seen in my kind of journey in biodiversity. So the big thing for me is satisfaction. The satisfaction I get from seeing when you, for example, plant wildflowers on the farm, when you move out your field margins, when you cut down pesticides, you see more birds, bees, butterflies come on the farm. There's huge satisfaction in that. Also, the landscape as well, it's a way nicer environment. The farm looks a lot better when you have the hedgerows or the trees, when you have nicer, I suppose, biodiversity of flora and fauna. You have more colour on the farm. Aesthetically, it's pleasing. It's good for a farmer's mental health to go out to a field and you go out and you listen to the birds and the bees in the morning, and it's just quiet and peaceful, and it's just very therapeutic, I find. I suppose, again, you're doing the right thing, by doing this. You're also trying to be productive and profitable, but at the same time, you know you're doing the right thing for the environment and even in a better place for the next generation, which for me is a huge motivation for me on the farm and for my family and for a lot of farmers as well have the same mindset. And then the other thing too, I suppose, is the reduction of costs. When you do embrace improving biodiversity, you're cutting down fertilizers and pesticides, which is a huge saving as well. So I'll show you examples of moving out the fence for field margins. You're cutting down on pesticides and fertilizer use in those areas, low input pastures as well. There is a big saving there from a cost point of view in relation to some of those measures. And I suppose the other thing now which is coming down the line is obviously there will be more subsidies and payments for doing these things on the farm. So I know it's been mentioned already about the eco schemes, Space for Nature, you're going to have the agri-environment schemes. And thankfully now we're going to get incentivised to plant, I like to say, grove of trees or hedgerows on the farm without being penalised in your subsidies, which was the case before. If I planted a grove of trees over here in the corner of the farm, it was going to get deducted in my single farm or my basic payment, it was obviously very hypocritical, and it wasn't going to lead to much improvements in biodiversity on farms. So policy is driven that way, and farmers always embrace policy and they'll follow the direction in which they're incentivised. So it's important that was changed. So I'll just quickly run through just a few slides, and I'll just go through the slides, and at the end I'll just talk about challenges and barriers and ways I could see that we could improve them in the countryside and on farmland. So there's just an example there. So last couple of years we've cut out using pesticides on our hedgerows. So that's all you can see, bramble there, and it's coming up close to the electric fences. On the right hand side there's a drain run there too, which you wouldn't even see now because it's all getting overgrown. But that's great for biodiversity there. Cuts down their pesticide use, and obviously you're keeping fertilizer out from your watercourse as well. Field margins here, these are new field margins for in the last couple of years as well. So the one on the left is a newly established one. You can see there's multi-species in that field as well, which is not just like your normal perennial ryegrass. You can cut down your chemical fertilizer and there's no pesticides used on that as well. And then there, the one on the right hand side, is actually a watercourse there as well. We moved that out by 4 metres, which is a lot, and all farmers wouldn't have to do that in the schemes. You can move them anywhere from 2 metres to 4 to 6 metres. But you can see, we'll cut that or graze that once a year, and that'll eventually turn into a real biodiverse habitat. It'll be a wildlife and a corridor for loads of different species, and there should be plenty of colour there in the next few years once the different species get established. Another example of cutting out pesticides on the farm, you can see lovely foxgloves there. There's lovely colour and primroses as well. So before, we would have sprayed it. That was just the way we done it. We always sprayed the spot sprayed any of the hedgerows, trying to keep the weeds, we used to call them, off the fence. But I suppose that mindset is changing. You can see how aesthetically pleasing that is on the farm. You don't have to walk around the farm and see that. It's beautiful. And we hope to see that more down on farms over the next few years. And it actually saves you time. You don't have to go around spraying hedges, and saves money as well. So I know I've already been told to speed up, but there's a wildflower bank we said as well, and then also a low input pastures that can still be grazed, but it doesn't get any fertilizer or pesticides. So that's the examples that we've done. So I suppose the barriers to that, one thing I'd say is the first thing is the baseline. None of us really have any baseline on our farms. What habitats do we have already, and how can we improve them? So you need to have a foundation to where to work from. Next one is education. Like, for example, I'm a farmer. It's not my expertise. I'm not an ecologist. I'm not an environmentalist, even though I kind of am now, I suppose, in one way. But I don't know, like, so for example, if I plant trees in the corner of a field, it could be very good, but if I could plant it over beside a river, it could take in carbon from the soil, but it could also stop nutrients leaching into the watercourse. So it does two jobs there. So if farmers are more aware and educated of those issues, you can get more bang for your buck in implementing these measures. And also for like invasive species, I wouldn't know how to identify an invasive species. A lot of farmers wouldn't, and we do need to know that kind of knowledge as well. Age profile is a big one, and I suppose I don't want to insult anyone here beside me, but young farmers, I think young people are more likely to embrace change, are more open-minded. I suppose I know from my own father, he would be very progressive over the years. He's 68, but when I started doing this, he was completely against it. He just thinks the farm looks untidy. He's afraid that there'll be no electric current in the fence. He said you're losing productive land for the cows. So all that stuff. So you have to try to get around all that barrier, but that's ingrained in him over years and years. Like, it takes a long time to change that. So I think it's important that we do get younger farmers coming through that will be more likely to embrace change. But like I was just telling someone before, yeah, but I'm already over time already, nearly. So
we'll come back to you in the questions, Shane.
Yeah, you can get into the questions anyway, but I can talk about some of the improvements. But so there's so much things we could talk about, like you nearly need all day to talk about them.
I know. Thank you, Shane. Thank you very much.
Okay.